You've got to love the irony of some of these headlines. The BBC reports that Prince William secretly settled a phone hacking claim against the newspapers, according to court documents. But here's why you shouldn't necessarily be jumping to conclusions. Welcome back to the channel. So I've said in many videos before that a party who is settling a lawsuit is not necessarily admitting liability. In fact, in many cases, they are not admitting liability. It's just a settlement to make the case go away. There are various forms of settlement. Some of them might be in millions or even tens of millions of pounds, and some of them might be what we call a Calderbank offer, which is here's 1,000 or even a few hundred. I don't agree with you, but here's some money to go away. That is certainly not admitting liability. And even in some family cases, there are some kind of settlements or ways of dealing with a case that don't admit liability. For example, in family cases, there may be an application for a non-molestation order against another party who is allegedly being abusive. I've more than once said to that party, it'll be quicker, cheaper, easier, less stressful for all concerned if you just take an undertaking or provide an undertaking to the court, which is a promise punishable by contempt if they break that promise, but an undertaking nonetheless not to do any of those things, but without admission of any liability and no findings of fact. And that's a very important element in this case, because no finding of fact means that the court hasn't determined any facts based on any evidence. It is just accepting an undertaking. And in cases like this, reportedly, it is just a settlement agreement. Settlement agreements, for what it's worth, are also enforceable by way of a contractual agreement between the parties, because the court can then enforce the terms of that settlement agreement so long as it's executed in the proper way, which is signed by the parties and so on and so forth. So let's just go back to this news report for a moment. Now, according to court documents, this is straight from the BBC. To be clear, I've not seen, certainly not read these court documents, and so I don't know anything about it. This is as reported by the BBC. One of the reasons people can trust the BBC in that it is a reputable source, so if you get something wrong, at least you've got some source to go back to. However, this says Prince William was paid a very large sum by the owners of The Sun to settle historical phone hacking claims, according to court documents, according to the BBC. Now, just to reiterate, you shouldn't be jumping to conclusions to think, aha, that means that they actually did it. That doesn't mean that they did it necessarily, because, as I say, there could be very many reasons why a party would settle a claim so that it doesn't go to court, because it's time-consuming, it's expensive, there's risk, and they may just decide to settle it out of court for many other different reasons. Nonetheless, this report from the BBC says that there was a secret agreement between Buckingham Palace and News Group newspapers, according to papers that are shown at the High Court. Prince Harry, of course, is suing over alleged unlawful information gathering, which, again, as I've mentioned in previous videos, refers to alleged phone hacking and voicemails and this sort of thing, which, of course, would be wrong if that was the case. But, of course, all of these are denied. Also, News Group newspapers have said that Harry is out of time to bring a claim because it was so long ago. And many people have commented that with his Netflix series and the books and everything else, that there are question marks over the allegations of privacy in the first place. But this is reportedly just one of allegations against such unlawful information gathering. And the others include the Daily Mirror and Daily Mail groups. But as I say, I've not read these court documents, but it is alleged that since criminal trials relating to phone hacking are at the now closed News of the World, remember that was some time ago, prove that he was serially targeted by the sister title, The Sun. So just as I said, you cannot, if you read these titles, I'm not being biased in any way. This is absolutely a matter of fact. You cannot jump to any conclusions just by reading a headline that these claims are settled in any way, even if they're for large sums of money, because one way or another, each party will be advised as to what it will cost. These sort of claims will easily be £1, £2, or £3, or £4, or even more £100,000 in legal costs. And that might be, we don't know, that might be what these documents are referring to. And invariably in cases like this, settlement agreements are going to be confidential. A confidentiality clause is usually part of a settlement agreement, i.e. you cannot go and tell anybody about X, Y, or Z about this agreement. It may only be that certain elements of it are referred to in what we call a Tomlin order, which is bringing official proceedings to a close, save for the confidential annex to the agreement, to the order, which is the agreement, and detailing what the settlement agreement is. And only unless and until there is a breach or alleged breach of that agreement, then the court can look behind into the confidential annex to uphold that agreement. And people do go back to court. That is, people do go back to court and sue on the basis of that agreement if the terms of that agreement have been breached. And there is a claim then that is breached. And then obviously the court will have regard to the confidentiality clauses and nature of that agreement. But there we go. I thought that was a rather ironic headline, that there's a secret settlement about this phone hacking claim. On another note, if any of you have got stories or situations that you would like me to talk about, please do send those through, particularly if you are one of my channel members, as I will thank you all on the right-hand side here. If you have comments, questions, stories, things you'd like me to address and discuss, I am very grateful to all of my channel members and Patreons. I'm going to call you, obviously I know some people refer to you as patrons, but I like Patreon because that tells you what the website is. But in the meantime, I thank you all for watching, and please remember to like this video and subscribe. And as I say, thank you to my channel members, and I'll see you all next time.